Hello, hello, my green skins, and another episode of Orc War Chief Reviews. Sorry this took a little longer than I thought. It kind of was just one of those situations. So, what we'll be talking about today? Megas XLR. An interesting cartoon series I never 100% got into, and also a series that feels like it should have come out in the 90s that ended up in the 2000s. Yeah, it's kind of one of those. So let's break this bad boy down. The series came out, I had a weird time with this. And the reason is that this was around the time when I stopped watching TV as a whole. I had an old cable box, but I barely used it. I connected it to, other than a few times, I legitimately just rarely watch TV. I had connected it to a separate little speaker box so I could run the sound, and I was running news channels. And my TV was mainly connected to every gaming thing I had. And I had 4 VHSs and two DVD players, if I remember correctly. And so for me, I never did watch this. Like, Teletoon was on and off for me, and at any time I would even watch it. I think it was roughly 3 or 4 things. It was really, at this era, I was so hardcore connected to anime and movies and whatever I can get my hands on. And this is right around the time I got really hardcore into yard sailing. And I used to go with a buddy of mine non-stop. And I would buy blank tapes. You know, because you never know what you get from blank tape. And that's literally true. Some of the stuff I got from blank tapes was insane. And this TV show was on there. And when I saw this for the first time, because the guy was so good at cutting out everything and had a perfect, almost perfect cuts, he figured out he had perfect timing for everything. This guy cut out the commercials and the ending. So I was like, where the fuck? I've never seen this. What is this show? Did this come out in the 90s? If this came out in the 90s, again, I barely had the internet at that point. And I was just like, damn, what the hell did I miss? How did I miss this show? It wasn't until I actually got a better cable box and got myself a bunch of splitters and, started getting stuff so I could start connecting other stuff that I actually started watching this show live. It's one of those weird things with me. Megas is a weird show for me. And I'm still shocked that the show came out in 2004. This should have been I think it was later for Canadian television, if I remember correctly, but this was way something I should have seen right away, and I just never saw the show. And it kind of surprised me that once I finally had watched it on live television. Now let's get to the cast. The cast on this is freaking surprising. For the main group, I'm meh, except for a couple, but I'm like, what the fuck? So we got ourselves, for Coop, David DeLuise. I kind of didn't know who this guy was. I had to look him up again. Wendy Lee as Kiva. And Steve Bloom, which I've run it as Steve Bloom's been in a lot of stuff, as Jamie, for the main cast of characters. And then you got, Clancy Brown as Gorath. We got Frank Walker, Peter Collins in this show. Bruce Campbell's in this show. There are so many people in this show that shocks me. And there's some really good voice acting. Except from the main 3. Except for Steve Bloom. Steve Bloom kind of does it. David DeLuise, I don't know, something about his voice acting in this is kind of a little poor. And it's kind of sad because I think that the show is a solid show in a lot of ways, but I find either his voice acting or the audio or the mixing for this show, for some reason, maybe it's the version I have seen, but his mixing isn't exactly good. And I would even go as far as saying the actress Wendy Lee, who played Kiva, I felt like it wasn't exactly the best. And I'm kind of sad because I think these characters could have done, like, I don't know, something about it just kind of, and the voice acting's a little weak. You know, Clancy Brown does a great job, and other guys are doing great jobs. And again, when Bruce Campbell's on, Bruce Campbell just steals the fucking, like, for the scene that for the times he's on. This is just really good. Like, but Bruce Campbell is a very good voice actor, like, shockingly good. And I don't know, like, this is one of the few times I've actually had a chance where I had to get into this and talk about the voice cast, because it's one of those things where the voice cast was kind of the biggest problem. Um, and that's kind of just funny how that's just kind of the biggest issue with this for that is that, yeah, they have kind of a mediocre main cast, unfortunately. David DeLuise. The funny thing is I've seen David DeLuise and stuff, and I like him and stuff, but for some reason the voice acting just didn't work for me in some ways. Like, it could work in sometimes, and it just didn't work at all. I don't know. Just something about this just didn't seem like a 20-something guy. I don't know. I think someone else should have took that role for some reason. I don't know. Just something about that. Next, let's get to the story. The story is kind of labeled off in the actual opening. Living here in Jersey, driving a giant robot car. That's basically it. And it's a fun monster of the week. And you have some interesting characters in it that kind of cover it. And like I said, there's some really good voice acting, like Clancy Brown's in here, and he's always kind of a fun voice actor. Bruce Campbell makes a couple appearances, which makes it really good. And it really works. And like I said, each character has their own thing. Like, Coop is basically a screw up nothing burger. Like, his game plan 90% of the time is, can I play video games? Can I get my big gulp? Or can I return a movie in time? That's literally how a majority of this is. It's like, oh, he has to return a movie and shenanigans ensue. Oh, he has to, he wants to go get some ice cream or something like that, and, insanity ensues. Oh, this happens, and insanity ensues. And Jersey's destroyed again. And Philadelphia is destroyed again. And half of America is destroyed again. And it is kind of funny how it's like every week he kind of does something. And there's all these tropes that make it very fun. Like, they make references to the Falcon Force or whatever. I can't remember the name of the character group now, with all the different animal type stuff, and they made that giant robot. They make a Sailor Moon reference, which is hysterical. And it's just well done in a lot of ways. And if it isn't Coop, it's Jamie causing shenanigans. And Jamie is your quintessential lawful evil. If you want to see a lawful evil character, that's Jamie. And it's either Coop-centric or Jamie-centric. Kiva doesn't get much, the actress. It's sad because a lot of the times it's just kind of her, She's kind of the support to these two idiots. And they did a great job. And it is very fun. Like, this is surprisingly fun. And I'm kind of annoyed by the fact that I feel like this should have been more popular and gotten way more seasons. And I still think if this would have come out like around 1994, I think this would have been a perfect series. I also like enjoy the constant references to MTV. I wonder if there's something with MTV, because they're constantly destroying pop TV, they call it. And I think that's maybe that's a reference to the fact that MTV went pop, and I guess the 2000s MTV went pop star on us. and Britney Spears and all. Was it 2000? For some reason, my brain thinks that. I might be wrong. Huh. I'll never forget the last 3 years, but I'll definitely the last 3 years of torment. But anything before that, I guess it's kind of a problem. But yeah, no, this was really well done, and they did a good job with the story. Now let's break down the animation. So the animation, it's pretty good. Not perfect. Like I said, this is why I feel like this was something from the 90s. For some, my brain says that this was a 90s thing. And it really does look good. Not perfect. I've seen there were some animation errors, but that's to be kind of expected. I will say season 2 looked a little better than season 1 from what I can see. And that basically they did a good job. I like the look of Coop. I like the look of Jamie. Kiva I have a hit and miss because I'm not a big fan of the Kiva stuff a little bit. It's one of those situations where I'm like, like I don't like, but it's fun. They have a bunch of fun characters for this, and they did a really good job. And it was actually good for what it was. Wasn't perfect. Wasn't the greatest thing that was out during the 2000s, but really well done. Next, we'll go to the music. This will be quick. They take a lot of tropes. They actually use Godzilla music. Not Godzilla music, but Godzilla sound effects and stuff. So there's a lot of good crunchy sounds in here. The music's pretty mediocre. Like most start with that, early that type of like not Batman, but Jesus fuck. I don't know how it's like I would be put. Oh, I heard it so many times, but it's so forgettable. I just binge watched this damn thing over like a couple days. And it's just oh, son of a bitch. I can't actually give it it's that forgettable. I think the effects and I think like the show itself is so colorful, the music itself really doesn't matter. But it is very stock, very B. And a buddy of mine once called it like it's almost like a lot of it is this B movie type of sound effects. And old horror monster movies. They have the old classic sound stingers and stuff from the early horror and B movies. Yeah, so that's all I really got to say about the music. It's okay, but it's forgettable. Next, we'll go to the rating. So, what am I going to rate Megas? I think my friend put it best. It's a B-movie cartoon. It really is references to anime and all this other type of stuff. And maybe it wouldn't have worked in the 90s because a lot of the tropes had been kind of extended through the 90s, through Sailor Moon and other stuff. But I think this, like, for some reason, my brain says if this came out in 1997, I think this would have lasted longer. I think 2004 was past its prime. And unfortunately, that kind of caused its big fall. So I'm going to give this a 5.9. It's above average, but not by much. I think if this had a little better animation and looked a little sharper and a little cleaner, again, this also could be the copy I had. I think this would have been worth a better watch. I overall enjoyed it. And I would watch it again. Would I binge watch it? I think it that kind of caused a little bit of bleeding for me. And there's also, like I said, I'm pretty certain Jordan Fringe did a video on this. So you might want to check out his work. He does some good old cartoons and TV shows and stuff. So yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for this new video. I hopefully will have faster videos coming up. I don't think I have any TV shows coming up in the next little bit because they take a little longer to do. All right, guys, you have yourselves a very good night, and I will see you guys on the next Orc Warchief Reviews.